Okay, Vin Diesel's Chronicles of Riddick. I'll be honest, Riddick was one of the coolest characters by far when it came to the movie Pitch Black. This is what really helped solidify Vin Diesel as an action star. This movie came out with a lot of fanfare, and people thought this was going to be, like this huge trilogy with him in it. Ironically, as of like early 2010, they still mentioned in pre-production and shooting being done for parts 2 and 3 of the Chronicles of Riddick trilogy. I'll say this one kind of feels almost like Space Conan. It's been a couple years since Pitch Black. The person who first played Iman has sent to try to get Riddick to show up to help battle the necromancers or necromongers. Yeah, necromancer will just be someone who controls the undead. Necromonger is something slightly different. Essentially, they're a warrior caste that kind of shows up and essentially like destroys your planet. It's either you convert to their religion or they destroy you. There's no two ways about it. Their leader has been to a place called the Underverse and came back, so therefore he has like superhuman abilities. His biggest fear is a Furion. A Furion being the race that Vin Diesel's character Riddick is. That's of course why they tried to get him. They think, if we have him, maybe he can battle essentially an intergalactic army by himself. This also has the Dame Judi Dench, and she plays essentially a air elemental, which is pretty interesting, to think that she actually would sign up for a movie like this. So essentially, this is a lot of Vin Diesel stabbing people in space and in very bizarre and very unique-looking environments. The biggest problem is when you watch it now, the effects seem very dated. And there are certain things we have to kind of go, okay, so this planet, when the sun rises, becomes essentially scorched. And they show people essentially like standing, like when the sun comes up, just getting turned from like human to dust. But Vin Diesel, apparently, he can run, have like a rope, swing while the sun is beating down on him and the sweat is, becoming vapor. And he can survive this. It also has Carl Urban from Lord of the Rings fame. And he plays kind of like a space Billy Ray Cyrus. He's got like, spiked hair, rat tail. Looks pretty ridiculous. The best thing about this whole movie by far has to be costume design is done very well. Weapons look very unique. Impractical, but very unique. And whoever plays like the main female lead, it's not Judi Dench, her acting is so ridiculously over the top. It really ruins this movie. She and the Carl Urban character are trying to essentially overthrow and defeat the head of the necromongers, knowing that their main thing is you keep what you kill. So if you kill somebody, you get to keep whatever was their most prized possession. Therefore, if you happen to kill the leader, you become the leader of the necromongers. Not a bad premise. So you have the slight cat and mouse as they're trying to constantly kill Riddick's character. Riddick's character constantly seems to survive, all leading up to the giant fight between the head of the necromongers and Riddick. Riddick is able to get in a couple of shots on him, and then all of a sudden, this is when Baco decides to jump in. After his woman always tells him, "Strike him now when the beast is wounded." But she says it in a way that is so ridiculously over the top. It's just horrendous. Then it comes down to the final battle between Baco, Riddick versus the head of the necromongers. And of course, Baco goes for the kill shot. The head of the necromongers then does his weird, like, slight teleport thing to run away. And while he's doing that, he runs right essentially into a knife from Riddick right into the center of his head. Riddick breaks the blade off, therefore killing the head of the necromongers. Which then has the other female run in and then do like One of the most blood-curdling, no! Why would you run into a screen, then all of a sudden just stop, and then yell out no? Is it? You kind of go, wow, if she wasn't in this, probably would have been a little bit of better movie. And of course, the movie essentially ends with Riddick sitting on the throne, all the necromongers bowing before him, a la Conan. And ironically, the director's cut goes a little bit farther. It shows, him having the necromonger fleet leave, I think it's Helio Prime, which is the initial planet he was going to save. Now, if you read the book continues on past that and shows him taking the fleet to the Underverse. Ironically, when they mention the trilogy, the first one was him getting control of the necromongers. The second one is him going to the Underverse, which is where they're kind of like the main part of their religion is at. So it'd be him essentially trying to figure out how to gain, some of the additional necromonger powers. And then the third one after that would be them going back to Furia, which is the planet that Vin Diesel's character Riddick is from. To be honest, the first one wasn't received well at all. At all. It's not a bad movie. It's just, if they would have spent a little bit less on special effects, they probably could have had a slightly better script. The script just seems like it takes just forever to go anywhere, and they go to places for almost no reason at all. It's like, we're going to this planet. Why? Well, we're trying to run away from these people, but they're chasing us. So we're just going to crash land here. Okay. But why? Now, that was in 2004 when this movie came out. They're still talking about the next two movies. We are now 7 years past the first one, and they still talk about there being a second and a third one. But they wanted the second one done right. If it comes out in 2012, most people probably will forget that it's part 2 of a series, and it might seem weird if it's Vin Diesel in a spacecraft in front of some weird dimensional gate going to the Underverse. It'd be interesting, This is actually one of the very few characters that Ben actually has stayed with. When he came to Fast and the Furious, he was in the first one. I think he was in Tokyo Drift, and I think he was in the fourth one. I thought it was going to be in the fifth one, but he skipped the second one. And this is almost being like his third movie in a row he played the same character. Will it ever come out? Hey, who knows? Will he be better than this one? More than likely.